Let's talk about the only things that matter for player progression in college football 25. For me, off-season training player progression is the most entertaining point of the whole entire off-season, with the transfer portal more times than not being underwhelming. I look forward most to player progression, and these methods are going to allow for your player progression to be the most impactful for your dynasty. If y'all enjoying the videos, like, comment, subscribe. Go check out the ebook, one-stop shop for everything dynasty. First link down in that description. So before you even get to player progression, I will argue this screen right here is probably the most important, man. Position changes, because this is where you're able to identify where you're weak on the team, and you could literally do something about it with this position changes. Like if you have a bad O-line, you could do something about that, man. You could move players over to the O-line. They'll be a 60 overall, 50 overall, and you move them to O-line, you advance player progression hits, and they go up to a 75, 80, 85, just depending on the player. So this position change week is so important. Don't sleep on it, man. You got to go through, and also really before you get to this week, you really should just have an understanding of like who has good skill caps, who does not. Like especially go through some of these wide receivers and the guys that's maxed out, 3-star right here, he's good enough to start. We might not move him. But when you get a senior receiver like this, 75 overall, and he's maxed out, man, red shirt senior, he's not going to play at receiver. He's not. He's just not. It's impossible. He's 6'1", 183 pounds. Well, instead of just having him be a backup at center or at receiver, you can move him somewhere. You can move him to the D-line. I understand if you don't want to do that, if that's a little cheesy. I completely get that. Well, if you don't want to do that, you can also move him over to cornerback. And you see here, got the 90 speed. He's a 75 overall, 6'1", 183 pounds. I said it might be a little bit small for the cornerback position. You could also move him to running back if you wanted to. I want to move him to defense. You can move him to safety. I'm gonna move him to corner, and he's gonna convert to a 48 overall corner. And what position or what offseason training, he's gonna shoot up in overall. And I'm not gonna say he's gonna be 85, 86. But he might be usable. Like he might be an 80, he might be an 85. He might be our third best corner or something here. We'll see what happens. But so you really want to just capitalize on this position change week and just identify some players that's maxed out. Same thing with tight end, man. You get some players that maxing out at tight end. You might want to move them over, or O-line. I know a lot of people love to move them athlete centers over the O-line. Well, this is the perfect time to do it. You got an athlete, this guy right here, he's a backup. Well, maybe you move him over to tight end. Tight end, he's going to be 80 overall tight end. Well, move him over there, and maybe he'll, shoot up in overall. You never know. You never know. And worst come to worst, he's your third tight end, and your third tight end don't catch balls. They usually just out there blocking, so it's really not a bad thing. So please do not sleep on this position change week, man. Even like quarterbacks. You got a backup quarterback. He's never going to be the starter. Move him to another position. You will be surprised what that off-season training do and how they could go up in overall. Even if they're a 40 overall somewhere, let's see. Let's move him. Running back, he can play running back, but let's move him over to corner as well. He might go up, he might not. More times than not, they do shoot up in overall. And I also want to move a receiver to the D-line. We got this, 206-pound receiver. He's light, he's small, but we're going to move him to D-line. He's a 70 overall. He's never going to be a good receiver for us. He could also play some quarterback. We don't want him to do that. We want him to move to the D-line. And the reason I'm suggesting moving these guys to D-line, D-lineman is the one position group, or it's a couple position groups like this, but you could have a 3-star bust prospect with bad skill cap still be an amazing player. You can't have that with wide receiver, quarterback. You can't have that with some of these other position groups. So when you do get a bust receiver, like you got to move him to another position, or he's just never going to be a good player on your team. So with that being said, we move this guy over to the D-line, and we'll see what happens. He's a 65 overall, James right here. And, he's a 90 speed D-lineman, and he's small, but like I said, height and weight I don't think matters in this game. If you don't want to do it, I completely understand, because it's not the most realistic. We got senior receiving back. Well, guess what? Let's also move him. Where are we going to move him? Let's throw him at safety, man. Let's throw him at safety and see if he develops. He might or he might not. So we advance to training results, and first of all, that freshman running back jumping up to a 90 overall sophomore, 95 with the boost. That's actually nuts. But where's our guy we just moved? I believe his name was, what was it, James? Here he is. This is the running back we just moved over here, and he was, what, a 40-something overall running back. You move him over to safety. Now he's at 84 overall, 87 with the boost. And, you know, now you got a player that might actually play. Skill caps in a very good spot for the safety position. Every position skill caps just feel a little bit different. The skill caps the same, but they just feel different, man. Receivers, like these skill caps might not be as good. But for a safety, D lineman, these skill caps are not bad because these guys, these defensive players just seem to max out a lot harder. And when I say that, it's like their max overall is a lot higher than some of these offensive players' max overall, especially receiver, tight end, also quarterback. But his attributes look solid, not amazing. Coverage ratings horrible. 31 on the man coverage. Not great. But he can play zone. You probably don't want him in man at all. Then James here didn't progress quite as well. He's up to a 72. Nothing amazing, nothing too crazy, but he did go up in overall somewhat. And then the receiver that we moved over to corner, that was like a 75 overall maxed out. Well, at corner, and now he's a 79. He jumped up in overall. Is he good enough to be the starter? No, because our team is good. If your team is not this good, you move him over to corner, he could be a guy for you. And, he's not done developing. If we moved him over earlier, he could actually become a starter, or he could have became a starter for us. We would have been moved him. But, just don't sleep on that position change week, man. That is so important for your offseason training, identifying guys that should move to this position and figure out where you're weak, and you can move some guys and they'll develop. Next, we got your coach abilities. Obviously, very important thing, the motivator. It works. I'm not going to say it's the best thing in the world. I did a whole test where I pretty much pit tier 3 motivator. We get that off-season training boost to the test. It's just, I want to see what it do. How much of an impact is it? And in my test, it was some situations where the motivator did nothing. Where, actually not having motivator led to that player getting more overall, more development compared to having motivator. If y'all want to see that test, join the ebook down below. I got the whole spreadsheet of it all down below. But the test pretty much determined that motivator, more times than not, is useful, but all the time is not going to do what you wanted to do, which is unfortunate for sure. But all-season training boosts, I think it's worth having that ability on your coach, whether it's your offense, defensive coordinators, or your head coach. It's probably worth having it on all of your coaches, having that off-season training boost, because it is a good thing. And the more coaches you have with that tier 3 ability, the better the off-season training boost should be, at least in theory. Also, talent developer is a good ability. I don't know if it helps with off-season training. I don't know. It's supposed to, but I don't know if it actually does, man. From my experimenting, it's hard to determine if it actually does. If I had to say, I would probably say it do not. If I actually had to, give a real answer, I would say it does not. Same here with the tier 1 ability for architect. That does not help with off-season training. It says in-game goals, so do not expect that to help with off-season training. The only thing that really does it, in my opinion, is going to be that tier 3 motivator. But talent developer is also a good ability to have for in-season training, in-season progression. That's kind of how I interpret this talent developer ability. Everything in-season training. So if you have like an elite development player, first of all, the development trait, to my understanding, helps with in-season training. So you pair that with also talent developer, then you're getting this crazy in-season boost. And that is a good method to getting players high in overall, especially if you're playing the games. You can stat pad, do some stuff like that. But the one thing about training results is like it's random, man. It is super random. And I get it. I just wish we was able to have some type of influence on it. So, this time, this running back jumped up to a 90 overall. If we had a save file before training results and we went back to that save file and advanced again, he might not go up in overall. He might not go up in overall nearly as much. He might only upgrade his abilities that time and his overall don't move. So that's kind of the issue. Sometimes they focus on abilities, sometimes they focus on overall, sometimes they focus on both. Sometimes they'll get more XP, when you advance the training results. So it's really RNG. It's really that random number generated. And, it's fun. I do enjoy that. It's random because that's kind of how it is in real life, man. You have players going through all season and, the new year, players taking over the league is sometimes random. Like, this guy right here, he's going to be a very good player. And next year in the real life college football season, we're going to have some random guy come be one of the best players in college football that nobody even expected. So I do like that aspect that is random. I just wish we could have some influence on it, man. Like some influence. And I feel like we don't. We don't have no influence on what they upgrade. Like whether, you know, this running back, he didn't upgrade his speed at all. He's an 89 speed running back. That's fine. But if I'm building a team that I want guys to be fast, I should have some way to, hey, prioritize speed, this, and this. It should be some coachability, some way in the game for you to, you know, determine what they upgrade, whether it's, you know, their speed or even like, okay, prioritize your abilities. I feel like they should add some way to control that next year. And what I will say, most of the time when these players are jumping up to like these high overalls as a freshman, as a younger player, they usually do have like elite development, star development, 4 or 5 star, just like the running back here. You know, you look at him, 5 star development trait, also good skill caps. He jumps up to a 90 overall. Let's look at, you know, the also it's a wide receiver that jumped up to an 80 overall as a sophomore. Deep threat. I mean, was his elite development 5-star, jumping up in overall. So there is some type of correlation, I believe, to development trait to, you know, off-season training. It's weird. Sometimes it feel like it's a correlation. Sometimes it really feel like it's no correlation. Sometimes you'll have an elite development guy that just won't go up in overall. But here you see our elite development guys, after their freshman year, they jumping up in overall, man. 3 of them here, all freshmen or all sophomores after, you know, playing their freshman year. Another D tackle up to an 84 overall speed rusher. I mean, that's very good. That's actually elite, if I would say so. And so we'll definitely take that. So the more elite star development players you could get on your team, I mean, it's simple. The better your team is going to look, and then the better your team is going to progress. And yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but like I said, it just seemed like some correlation to higher development trait leads to better offseason training, even though midway through the year, you know, a couple months ago, I didn't believe that was the case. Other than that, appreciate y'all boys watching. Y'all let me know down below anything I missed, any ideas, anything, just drop it down below. Like, comment, subscribe, check out the ebook/membership, and we on to the next one.